When you experience intense, painful emotions like fear, anxiety, or anger, your ability to think goes out the window. Your perception of reality gets warped, your thoughts don't make sense anymore, and you begin to act first and think later. At worst, you say or do something that you regret and it can't be undone. This is because overwhelming emotions hijack your ability to function intelligently. The good news is that there is a system that you can use to help you take control of your emotions. And that's what I'll be covering in today's class, how you can take control of your emotions so that they don't take control of you. When you can learn to master your emotions, you give yourself the opportunity to be the best version of yourself. Your life and your relationships will significantly improve and become a far more connected and pleasurable experience. Your goal is to live more consciously with intention and confidence. This means living in an intelligent state where your thinking is clear, your decisions are made rationally and with confidence. Controlling your emotions does not mean suppressing them. You must first understand what emotions are and how you can work with them and not against them. So let's talk about what emotions are. Emotions are your mind and body's messenger. The emotions you experience contain messages that tell you that something needs to change. Every emotion that you experience is telling you to take action or avoid taking action. For example, if you lie to your partner and you feel guilty about it, your guilt is telling you, hey, it wasn't a good idea to lie. Let's not do that again. Sometimes the messages your emotions send you are false alarms. For example, if you have crippling anxiety speaking in public, your emotions are probably overestimating the danger that you're actually in and isn't giving you useful information on what to do. The first step towards emotional mastery is learning how to identify what you're feeling. If you're angry that your partner forgot to do the dishes again, take a pause and realize that what you're feeling is anger before doing anything else. Once you identify how you feel, how you think, and what the message it's telling you, then you can use that information to take constructive action. Imagine the following scenario. Say you are sitting on the couch with your partner and you're on your phone and they're reading a book. You lean in to give them a kiss while they're reading and you get a negative reaction. You start feeling uncomfortable about what just happened. Now, let's assume you haven't reached emotional mastery yet and you're not aware of what you're feeling. All you know is that you started feeling bad when your partner reacted negatively when you tried to reach out for a kiss. You're most likely going to think, wow, my partner is really not loving me right now, or does this mean that they don't actually like me? You can really start to hallucinate about why they did this and what it means. Since you haven't identified how you feel and what that feeling is actually trying to tell you about your needs, you won't know what actions would make you feel better. Your thoughts are influenced by feelings of being uncomfortable or rejected. You react aimlessly instead of responding rationally. Here's how you would handle the situation with emotional mastery. When you feel uncomfortable, these are the steps that you would take. Step number 1, move away from a reactive state of mind. Don't surrender to the uncomfortable feeling and the doubts that then enter your mind, like I feel rejected, I feel insecure, I feel awful. Dwelling in these emotions and thoughts will grow your emotional state, and that is not what you want. Step number 2, identify what message your feeling is telling you. It might be saying, hey, I want to get closer to my partner, but I'm worried they don't want to get closer to me. Get clear on what it is that you want. What expectations did you have that need to be adjusted? If you don't understand what your feelings are saying about you, then you won't know what the right actions are to take. Step number 3, take immediate action. Take action that addresses the thing your emotions revealed about you. In this example, it would be expressing your desire to be closer to your partner and feeling hurt at the thought that the feeling isn't mutual. Doing this will help you stop feeling uncomfortable. This makes sense. You won't continue feeling bad if you're addressing the source of the issue. Step number 4, make a change in how you think or how you behave. You can change one of two things, either your perception or your procedure. Your perception is highly influenced by your emotional state and is prone to being wrong. You might have thought your partner doesn't love you or that they don't want to be with you. In reality, your partner was distracted by the book that they were reading. It doesn't mean that they don't love you. It doesn't mean that they don't want to be with you. It means that they are absorbed in what they're doing. So the perception needs to change, or you're going to feel a lot of pain for no reason. Now, your procedure is the approach that you take in addressing your needs. Say your emotion is a signal that maybe you are not communicating your needs properly and your partner doesn't even know what you need. Your approach in the past may have been to just hope your partner knows what you want. Instead, you can change your procedure and you can say, "Honey, I know how busy you are. I know how wrapped up in your work you are and providing for the family, but what I need right now is 3 minutes of your time, just for you and I, and just to feel loved by you right now and to be held by you and to feel connected with you." If you ignore the messages your emotions are sending you, your emotions won't go away. Instead, they will intensify. You have to change your expectations, or you have to change your perceptions, or you have to change your procedures. Listening to the messages, your emotions, and then addressing them effectively is truly the pathway to taking your power back instead of sitting in pain. So now let's look at 10 different emotions, what their messages might be, and some solutions for how to handle them. As we go through the emotions, consider how they show up in your life. Let's begin with discomfort. This emotion doesn't have great intensity. The way you experience discomfort is similar to dealing with something or someone that annoys you. This emotion might be telling you that you're suffering from boredom, impatience, unease, distress, or embarrassment. The solution here is to change your state. This involves physiology, focus, and language. This can be as simple as moving your body. Emotion follows motion. So if you need a quick boost to change your emotional state, then radically moving your body works. Walk, run, do yoga, stretch. Even standing up with your hands towards the sky can get the job done. You then want to clarify what you do want and why you want it. Then refine your actions and try a different approach. Let's look at fear. This emotion brings levels of concern, intense worry, anxiety, fright, and terror. Fear might be telling you that there's an anticipation that something is going to happen and you need to prepare for it. The solution is to examine what you're feeling fearful about. Then decide what actions will make you feel better prepared for whatever it is that you're fearing. Do the actions and come up with more until your fear subsides. Hurt. This emotion dominates relationships and is usually generated by a sense of loss. This emotion might be telling you that you had an expectation and it has not been met. For instance, you have the expectation that people you love won't leave you. When that expectation is broken after your partner breaks up with you, it can show up as hurt. The solution is to realize that in reality, you may not have lost anything. Reevaluate the situation. Is there really loss here? Elegantly and appropriately communicate your feeling of loss to the person involved. Change your expectations for appreciation. Anger. This emotion includes being irritated, resentful, or enraged. This emotion might be telling you that an important rule or standard that you hold for your life has been violated. Someone is treating you unfairly. The solution? Discover why you think you're being treated unfairly. What expectations did you have that people did not meet? You then want to communicate to the person involved what your expectations are and exactly how they were violated. Frustration. This emotion comes from feeling surrounded by roadblocks. You feel like you always put in the effort, but you never receive rewards for it. This emotion might be telling you that your brain believes you could be doing better than you currently are. That what you're currently doing is not worth the effort for you and that you should change or stop what you're doing. The solution is to consider other approaches in getting what you're trying to get. You can look for outside help on solving the problem that you're facing. You can become more curious and get fascinated by what you can learn and anything that could help you handle this challenge. Disappointment. This emotion is about feeling let down or that you're going to miss on something forever. It's about expecting more than you receive. This message might be telling you that an expectation that you had is probably not going to happen. The solution is to change your expectations for appreciation. Change your life conditions. You can set a new goal or a new standard. Realize that the situation isn't over yet and develop more patience. You can cultivate an attitude of positive expectancy about what will happen in the future. Let's take a look at guilt. This emotion is about regret and remorse. This emotion might be telling you that you have violated one of your highest standards and that you must do something immediately to correct it. The solution is to acknowledge that you have violated a critical standard that you have for yourself. Absolutely commit yourself to make sure that this behavior will never happen again. You can utilize the guilt to drive you to hold yourself to a higher standard in the future. Inadequacy. This emotion is about unworthiness, and we feel that we can't do something that we should be able to do. This emotion might be telling you that you don't presently have the level of skill necessary for the task that you're trying to accomplish, and you need more information, understanding, strategies, confidence, or resources. The solution here is to ask yourself, am I really inadequate, or do I need to change my perception? Appreciate the encouragement to improve. Understand that you do not need to be perfect. Seek out more information or a mentor. Let's take a look at overload or overwhelm now. This emotion is about grief, depression, and helplessness. There is no empowering meaning for something that has happened. This emotion might be telling you that you need to reevaluate what's most important to you in this situation and that you're dealing with too many things at once. The solution is to start focusing on what you can control. Decide what the most important thing to focus on is. Write down all of the important things and put them into a list of priority. Tackle the first thing on your list and then continue to take action until mastered. And finally, let's look at loneliness. This emotion is about feeling alone, apart, or separate from others. This emotion might be telling you that there is a need for connection with people. The solution here is to realize that you can reach out and make a connection immediately and end the loneliness. You want to identify what kind of connection you need and then reach out and connect. Okay, let's look at your own situation in more depth by referring to your workbooks now. What is a situation that you recently experienced where you felt that your emotions were out of control? What happened? What was it about that situation that influenced you to get to the feeling of feeling out of control? Was anything said or done specifically? What were you feeling at the time? How would you like to feel and behave instead? And why is that important to you right now? So let's now look at what's really going on internally when you feel emotionally out of control or when you experience a painful emotion. With understanding, it helps bring awareness and acceptance to what's really happening with you when things feel super out of control. When you're in a situation where emotions intensify, maybe you're facing a challenging situation in your relationship or in life, it will feel like you don't really know why you reacted the way that you did, or kind of like it felt bigger or more in control of you than you were in control of it. This happens when whatever you are facing or dealing with was given a meaning by you that was painful. You see, when we have a thought, it's not until we give it a meaning do we really have intense emotions and reactions to things. Even if your situation is about what someone else has said or done to you, there will also be meanings that your mind created that makes it a painful experience. By exploring and understanding the meaning or the story that your mind created about your situation, we create a space of acceptance and understanding, which is what leads us to being able to move through the emotion and not get stuck in it. Let's look at a real example in your life. I'd like you to recall a situation in which you can remember a time where you felt a specific emotion that you can recognize as being really difficult or painful. From recalling that situation, I'd like you to use this sentence to explore it more deeply. When insert situation happens, I feel insert feeling because it means insert meaning. An example of this might be, when my partner never returns my calls, I feel angry because it means that they don't care about me. What was your meaning? Allow yourself an extra moment or two now to think about how that meaning makes you feel. Are there any other emotions that come up? Refer to your workbooks now and complete your sentence. Now, think about the meaning you gave. In the example was that they felt their partner didn't care about them. Once we start thinking thoughts like this, the mind is incredibly skilled in feeding that thought enough that it becomes a story. And at this point, it becomes amplified by emotions. And we not only believe it, but now we are reacting to that story. Reflect on the meaning that you came up with and ask yourself, is it true? But can you tell me with 100% certainty that it's true? Where would you be without this thought? How would that impact your emotional state? Usually when we ask ourselves if it can be 100% true, we realize that we don't have certainty, but we're living and responding emotionally as if it were true. By understanding that often when we are in emotional pain, we are the ones enhancing that pain by how we react to the meaning that we created. We amplify the situation by focusing on the meaning our minds created. Again, refer to your workbooks and pause the video when you need to. Let's now explore how your needs are feeding your emotional reactions. Complete this sentence now. When this situation happened, what I needed was, insert need because, insert reason. When you are in an emotional reaction or a trigger, is that need that you have identified first being recognized by you? Your awareness of the need and not just your emotional reaction to it is an essential ingredient to be able to better control your emotions in the future. An example might be, I needed more consistent communication because I was feeling a bit disconnected from my partner. As you reflect more on the need now, what is the impact on you of this unmet need? Have you taken any steps to communicate this need? Taking into account the principles that we talked about today when shifting your approach with the unmet need. To help you understand your need, refer back to each of the emotions that we talked about at the start of the class and look for the hidden message. Do you need to shift your perception regarding your need or shift the way in which you're communicating it? Remember how we talked about changing your perception or your procedure or the actions that you're taking to get the needs met. If you are going to shift the way in which you respond to your need within yourself and also to your partner, that it's coming from a place of patience and connection, how might that be communicated? I'll give you an example. You have identified that your partner is not returning your calls and it makes you feel angry, which means they don't care about you. You might normally respond by just being angry with them or lashing out your frustration, which can lead to disconnection, and then that need is still not being met. You then identified that the need is to connect more consistently, and that when your partner doesn't return your calls, it makes you feel disconnected. Let's look at shifting the perception, or how you see the situation, and then the procedure, which is how you approach it with your partner. You might want to ask yourself, are the phone calls being made at a time that my partner is able to return my calls? Is it a reasonable and a possible request? If it's not, then make an attempt to try at a different point in time. If you do feel that it's a reasonable request, then let's start looking at communicating that need in a way that creates connection and not more disconnection. Honey, I would love to be able to connect with you more during the day. I understand that at times when I'm calling, it might be difficult for you to return my calls. Is there a certain time of day that works for you that we could connect more easily? In this, you're giving them the opportunity to improve without being critical and harsh. Usually people will just say, you never return my calls, and I feel ignored. You just don't care. This response makes your partner go on the defense and do the exact opposite of what you desire. When changing your approach, you want the same level of patience and mindfulness as when you were first dating, which means learning to control your anger and responding when not in a triggered space. If you deal with difficulty when triggered, you will never get a positive result or a positive response. So you might be asking, how do I approach my partner in open communication and in compassion when I feel triggered? You're angry, you're let down, you're feeling rejected. The short answer is you don't. You wait. You wait until you're not in that state before addressing it, or in a reduced, more controlled state. By this stage, you will have an improved self-awareness of your emotions as well as your needs. We'll now shift to learning what you can do once you are already triggered and you want to help shift yourself out of that triggered state. This is a 4-step process, and don't forget that in step 4, we've included a separate audio link for you to use this method exactly when you need it the most. There's also a meditation that's going to go really deep into emotional management. Step number 1, take a deep breath. Instead of reacting right away, whether positively or negatively, give yourself a moment to process what just happened. We've all heard this before, and it's really learning to train yourself to be present enough in the moment to catch it. When we get emotionally flooded, we go into fight or flight, which means that the part of you that has the ability to think straight and communicate is shut down. We all know what this feels like. It's usually in these moments that we make poor choices, or we say and do things that make the situation worse. Step number 2. Find out what you're feeling. Sometimes it takes a little time to really understand what you're truly feeling. It's easy to say, I'm feeling angry because they hurt me. Dig deeper. Are you angry because you are afraid that they're right? Are you sad? Emotions are complex and they often piggyback onto one another. Reflect now on the situation you raised as an example. Beyond giving it a one-word label of the emotion, dig deeper and write down at least one sentence about what you feel. Keep writing till you feel like you gave it a really good shot at emptying it out. Step number 3, replace negative thoughts. If your mind goes straight to how you've been wronged or how terrible everything is, divert yourself. Dwelling on negativity will only make you more prone to it. In this moment, you can practice the sequence that we used before, getting clear on your thoughts that are causing the intense emotions, and then ask yourself, is it true? And where would you be without that thought? This is a really fast way to interrupt the out of control emotions. Step number 4, channel your energy. Human emotions are incredibly powerful. Let that energy go by participating in some sort of physical activity. Move. any way, shape, or form that you can. Emotion follows motion. If you feel emotionally charged just by moving your physical body, this causes a shift in the chemistry in your brain. As you're going through each of these stages, remember that your feelings must change throughout the process. It's okay if you shift back and forth into fight or flight mode. What's important is being aware that it's happening so that you can take corrective action. With practice, patience, and mindfulness, you can begin your journey towards overcoming any difficult emotion.